Okay.
Ready? Start? Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam of Bhagavan Ved-Vyas, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 5. Munaya sadhu prashtoham bhavadbhya loka mangalam yad krita krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. Synonyms. Munayaha, O sages. Sadhu, this is relevant. Prashtaha, questioned. Aham, myself. Bhavadbihi, by all of you. Loka, the world. Mangalam, welfare. Yat, because. Kritaha, made. Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Samprashna, relevant question. Yena, by which. Atma, self. Suprasidati, completely pleased. Translation. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. This is Sutta Goswami speaking to the rishis headed by Shaunaka at Naimisharanya. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. Purport. Since it has been stated herein before that in the Bhagavatam the absolute truth is to be known, the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya are proper and just because they pertain to Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth. In Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead says that in all the Vedas there is nothing but the urge for searching after Him, Lord Krishna. Thus, the questions that pertain to Krishna are the sum and substance of all the Vedic inquiries. The whole world is full of questions and answers. The birds, beasts, and men are all busy in the matter of perpetual questions and answers. In the morning, the birds in the nest become busy with questions and answers, and in the evening also the same birds come back and again become busy with questions and answers. The human being, unless he is fast asleep at night, is busy with questions and answers. The businessmen in the market are busy with questions and answers, and so also the lawyers in the court and the students in the schools and colleges. The legislators in the parliament are also busy with questions and answers, and the politicians and the press representatives are all busy with questions and answers. Although they go on making such questions and answers for their whole lives, they are not at all satisfied. Satisfaction of the soul can only be obtained by questions and answers on the subject of Krishna. Krishna is our most intimate master, friend, father, or son, and object of conjugal love. Forgetting Krishna, we have created so many objects of... What did I do? This is an iPad and I hit something which... I hit a button, I hit something and lost the text. Have to find it again. There are disadvantages to all this fancy technology also. 125. Yeah. Okay, let's begin this paragraph again. Krishna is our most intimate master, friend, father, or son, and object of conjugal love. Forgetting Krishna, we have created so many objects of questions and answers, but none of them are able to give us complete satisfaction. All things but Krishna give temporary satisfaction only. So, if we are to have complete satisfaction, we must take to the questions and answers about Krishna. We cannot live for a moment without being questioned or without giving answers, because the Srimad Bhagavatam deals with questions and answers that are related to Krishna. We can derive the highest satisfaction only by reading and hearing this transcendental literature. One should learn the Srimad Bhagavatam and make an all-around solution to all problems pertaining to social, political, or religious matters. Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna are the sum total of all things. Just before I start, I just let you all know, those of you who are kindly listening out there in the big wide world, not that it's a huge number, I'm probably going to have to shift position and move around in between due to some back problem, and so if I do get up and move around, I should be back within a couple of minutes. I need to get up and stretch every so often. This talk I'm giving now is at the request of devotees in Miami, in Florida, USA. Kindly asked me to speak. I visited there 2 times, as far as I can remember. Once I was at the temple on Radhashtami a few years ago. I was nicely welcomed by my old friend and godbrother Jaidwaj Prabhu, and another godbrother Harish Chandra Prabhu, and there may have been other godbrothers there, but I'm sorry, I don't remember your names. And God's sister, she wasn't there at the time, but I know her from many years ago from Bombay. Nartak Gopal Mataji is very much involved there. So thank you for inviting me. I went once more to Miami after that, but as it was in midweek, my disciple Radhananda, who was in the Miami area, he arranged different house programs. I asked him, well, why didn't you do it in the temple? And I said, well, no one goes to the temple except at the weekend. So I was a bit disappointed, but anyway, it's a beautiful temple. I was asked to speak on, I asked what subject, whatever you like. Whatever you like. And that, when I was asked to speak on whatever I like, it brought to mind the verse, just like this verse which we're reading now is from the beginning of the discussion between the sages of Naimisharanya and Sutta Goswami. And in the second canto we have the beginning of the discussion between Vyasaki, Shukdev Goswami, and Parikshit Maharaj, which is within the discussion between Sutta and Shonaka. So in the beginning of that discussion, Shukdev, after saying something similar, thanks for asking about Krishna, he says, Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nirnang Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedhinam. He speaks of people in general who have many subjects to talk about, but they don't talk about the thing which they really should be talking about, because they don't even see, they don't even know that what they should be talking about. They have so many things to discuss. But they don't see that in human life we should be discussing Atma Tattva, knowledge of the soul, which means ultimately Yatkrita Krishna Samprashnaha, to find out about Krishna. Why don't they know? Griheshu grihamethinam. They're simply like animals concerned with their home, and home means ato griha kshetra sutapta vitaya janasya moho yamaham mameti. Thinking in terms of I, me and mine, centered around the home, family, wealth, money, country, prestige, and all these things. So there are many, many, many things that we have to talk about. And if we ask someone, what would you like to talk about? People will come up with so many things. I also, as a fallen, totally bewildered, conditioned soul, had so many things to talk about until I was fortunate to receive the mercy of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, and understand what I really need to talk about. That everything else will not satisfy us. YouTube. Let's talk about YouTube. I don't know if I'll get thrown off YouTube for saying this. I'm not significant enough that they'll find me out, I hope. There's so many things. Of course, I haven't looked around, but no doubt there are all kinds of sports and dances and jokes and political talks and educational talks, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of all the different subjects you can get on YouTube. And none of it will satisfy us. Only on YouTube also we have talks of Krishna, and that will satisfy the soul. The mind may be satisfied by seeing different things on amazing, all kinds of entertainment immediately available. It used to be a fantastic technological leap forward, where there was the radio, so everyone in their home had a radio. You have entertainment 24 hours, and you can get the radio from all over the world, not all over the world, but you can tune in and get all kinds of entertainment on the radio. And then there was a quantum leap up to television, and then you can see so many things. And then there was another great leap forward or backward or whatever for mankind, in which you could get so many channels on the TV. There was the cable TV and the dish TV, and you get so many channels. And that was amazing. So many things you can get on. And now you have YouTube with so many things at wherever you are, any time of day and night. Just have to keep on paying for the internet connection, and you can get all kinds of entertainment, everything you can imagine, and many things you can't imagine either. But it's out there. But it's all useless. That's the point. It's all useless without Krishna. This point is made here by Sutta Goswami. It's already understood by Shonaka Rishi. He already knows there's nothing worth hearing about except Krishna. But so he wants to hear about Krishna. Shonaka Rishi himself is quite capable of instructing the whole world, because he knows the real subject is Krishna. But nevertheless, he's humbly hearing from Sutta Goswami. And in the same tradition, Srila Prabhupada wrote these books. The human being, Srila Prabhupada writes here, unless he is fast asleep at night, is busy with questions and answers. Fast asleep at night. Srila Prabhupada wasn't fast asleep at night. He didn't sleep, only for a short time. He was busy. He was so busy with questions and answers about Krishna that he didn't even like to sleep at night. The first canto of Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada wrote in the shelter of Radha Damodar Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami's temple, in Sevakunj, in Vrindavan, the center of the Gauriya Vaishnav world, taking blessings, praying to Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Praying to Rupa Goswami, who established within this world the mission for fulfilling the desires of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Prabhupada praying for the blessings to do that, writing his books in the seclusion of the Radha Damodar temple. At the time it was busy, but nothing as busy as now. Not talking with people very much, just working on his books. But you can see clearly from his purports, he was writing to the world. And at an age, over 60 years of old age, he decided, being inspired by his spiritual master, he decided to translate with elaborate commentary the whole Bhagavatam at that age. A massive undertaking. Not only that, but he also had the mission to go to the Western countries and personally preach Krishna consciousness and bring it to the Western world. So he's in the beginning of old age, he set himself two massive tasks. One, to translate the whole Bhagavatam with extensive commentary in a manner, in a language which is not at all the genre of the... It's a different kind of language to the Indian languages, to the Sanskrit from which Srila Prabhupada was translating. Hindi, Bengali, modern Indian languages, they're derived from Sanskrit. So if you translate the Bhagavatam from Sanskrit and the commentaries, you'll use many of the same words which are in the original Sanskrit. So it's really, a lot of it is transposing or changing the grammar. But putting it in English is very different. Plus, the English-speaking crowd, especially in the Western world, the English-speaking audience, especially in the Western world, have no cultural background, no knowledge of this. I remember reading this purport for the first time, and it just made sense to me, except the word Krishna. And you may think, what? What am I saying? Because I was unfamiliar with Krishna. If it had been said, they pertain to God, who is the absolute truth. Questions that pertain to God are the sum and substance of all the Vedic inquiry. Then I didn't reject it in my mind, but the very concept of Krishna was new to me. And it is to pretty much all the readers in the Western world of Srila Prabhupada's books. So Srila Prabhupada, he was praying to Rupa Goswami to take the gifts that Rupa Goswami had given and the literary gifts, Rupa Goswami and all the acharyas. We are Rupa Anugas, we are followers of Rupa Goswami. To take those literary gifts, that knowledge, and put it into English language. It's not at all an easy task, especially as Srila Prabhupada himself noted in the preface to the Bhagavatam. His own English was not perfect. And he quoted that verse. that abhadavatyapi, even if imperfectly composed, tadvarg visargo janataga viplavaha yasmin pratishlokam abhadavatyapi namanyatantasya yashonkitani yachtrinvanti gayanti gurnanti sadavaha. This verse, spoken by Narad Muni, predicts Srila Prabhupada, because he speaks of discussion of the Krishna, the unlimited Supreme Lord, even if composed irregularly, in irregular language, will create a revolution in the impious lives of a misdirected civilization. And such topics, even though imperfectly composed, because they are on the right topic, which is Krishna, they are accepted, they're heard, accepted, and further broadcast by purified men who are thoroughly honest, by sincere people. They will appreciate this. So Srila Prabhupada wrote that I am hopeful even though my language is not perfect, I'm hopeful of it being well accepted by the thoughtful people of the world who can understand that Srila Prabhupada is writing the early 1960s, that there's so much problem in the world at the present time. Now, if we look at the world situation now and look back at what it was then, we may think it's quite quaint. It was quite an innocent time compared to what it is now. And the whole world situation is getting worse and worse and worse, as is predicted in the Srimad Bhagavatam for Kali Yuga. Tatas chanu dinam dharma satyam shochang kshamadaya kalena balina rajan nangshantyayur balang smritihi. This is the situation in Kali Yuga, with the passing of every single day dharma, religious principles, religious understanding, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, all by the mighty power of time, they all decrease day by day. And also physical strength, mental strength, and longevity. So this is the situation in Kali Yuga. But Srila Prabhupada was confident that if this message is accepted open-mindedly, then it can create a revolution in the world, in the sinful lives of a misdirected civilization. Excuse me, I just have to stand up and sit down. Just a moment here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Srila Prabhupada, he was confident that the message in his books was, even though composed in irregular language, it was clear, the message was clear enough. He gave the example that was given by his own Guru Maharaj in the purport to this, later in the Bhagavatam, when he was going through it systematically. Then in this Tadvag Visargo verse, he gave the example of a house burning on fire. The inhabitants of the house might not be able to speak the local language, but the emergency is such that they're able to communicate to the neighbors their need of help. So in the same way, there's an emergency, so even if Srila Prabhupada's English wasn't so perfect, his not perfect in grammatically, then in terms of syntax and all these things. So, but still, people will accept it. So Srila Prabhupada, he was clearly empowered by Lord Krishna from within his heart. Srila Prabhupada said that these books are being dictated to him by Krishna. The manner in which he's able to communicate this, clear, relevant to the modern world, and Krishna's there. What we really need to hear, Krishna's there. Srila Prabhupada communicated Krishna. He gave Krishna. Krishna Shri Tomar, Krishna Dite Paro, Tomara Shakati Ache. We pray to the Vaishnava Thakur. Krishna is yours. You can give him. You have the power to do so. So Srila Prabhupada, he prepared the first canto, printed in volumes, which in America at that time they looked completely, the new books, the volumes of Bhagavatam that Srila Prabhupada prepared, they looked, from the aesthetic point of view, the quality of the paper, the quality of the printing, it wasn't up to the standard of what would be considered, what was considered acceptable for publishing books in America. But Srila Prabhupada brought the books and they had their effect. Now this second canto and the rest of the cantos, Srila Prabhupada went on translating these books, even as he was thickly involved in preaching Krishna consciousness and organizing the movement and training raw, wild, many of them candidates to do one of these tasks, to translate the Bhagavatam to the extent that he did, or to preach Krishna consciousness all over the world, and not just preach and give talks, but to train people and with a vision of getting these books distributed, getting the holy name preached, of having festivals, Harinam Sankirtan, prasadam distribution, restaurants, farms. To do even one of these tasks would have been amazing. But Srila Prabhupada did both. I know myself, I'm writing, and it's a quandary in my mind, because I think, well, there's so much work to do, traveling and preaching. Of course, during this COVID period, our traveling is restricted. So much work to do in traveling and preaching. Very good field for preaching Krishna consciousness everywhere. So much work to do, still so much work to do, spreading, organizing, so many things. But I also have many books that I'm in the process of writing, which also, dare I say it, I feel they're important contributions to the ongoing efflorescence of Krishna consciousness in the world. So I'm caught. If I do, what do? Do I travel or do I write? Because if I'm traveling around, it's very difficult to get your, even if you get enough time, it's very difficult to get your mind to concentrate. If you just have, say, 20 minutes here and there, or 2 hours here and there, and then again pick up the thread and start writing again. Whereas if you're sitting in one place and day after day after day you have a routine, then you can do the writing. So should I do one or the other? But Srila Prabhupada did both. How did he do both? After a busy day, he would write at night. And now, sleeping is a waste of time, as Srila Prabhupada said. But as a conditioned soul, nidra ahara vihara kadi vijito, I didn't come to the stage of conquering over eating and sleeping. I'm certainly not chatyanta dino chayo, not extremely humble. So I have to sleep at night. Otherwise, but Srila Prabhupada, 1.5 hours he would rest at night. Now, after a busy day with the mind in so many different things, then at night he would get in a different mode altogether and start writing. Later he dictated. There's so many amazing stories. How Garga Muni Prabhu found this dictaphone, which wasn't a very well-known instrument. Never was a very well-known instrument. It was a specialized instrument, especially for doctors. They would dictate their prescriptions and things like that. So, Garga Muni brought it to Srila Prabhupada, who's after all from India, where at that time transistor radios, I'm not sure if they even had transistor radios at that time, but they had bigger radios, and that was the big that was the top technology. And ambassador cars, and India was technologically backward. And this dictaphone is a very uncommon kind of device. So Garga Muni bought the machine, the man in the shop showed him how to use it, all the different details, and then Garga Muni is going to go back and show Srila Prabhupada how to use it, which is going to revolutionize his book translation, because instead of having to type it out, Srila Prabhupada dictates it and someone else types it out. And Prabhupada, he gave him the machine and Prabhupada immediately started using it. He didn't have to be showed how to do it. It's almost as if the dictaphone is an eternal, just like Lord Vishnu has his 4, Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, his conch, his disc, his Shankha Chakra club and his lotus. So it's almost like, Srila Prabhupada even wrote in his Nectar of Devotion that on the topic of Yukta Vairagya, how everything can be used in the service of Krishna, he mentioned the dictaphone, that the person who invented it, he didn't have the idea of using it for Krishna's service, but Srila Prabhupada was using it for Krishna's service. It was invented for materialistic reasons, but Srila Prabhupada used it, and thus the inventor of the dictaphone also gets benefit, agyata sukriti. He gets unknown benefit from having assisted Srila Prabhupada in this. So Srila Prabhupada was so anxious to get this message over that at night, he would dictate these books, and then in the day he'd be again, whole day, so many services for Krishna, so many things, and then again at night, again, several hours, he would dictate his Bhagavatam purports. And in this way, he went all the way through to the 10th canto, 13th chapter of Bhagavatam, and gave us this invaluable gift. And what is that invaluable gift? Krishna. He makes it very clear here in this purport that what we really need is Krishna. There are so many questions, so many things to be discussed. But they're misleading us if they're not connected with Krishna. The real topic we have to hear about is Krishna. Yenatma suprasidati. And therefore we get the next verse. Savai pung sang paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje. Ahaitukya pratihataya yatma suprasidati. The supreme occupation, dharma for all humanity, is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So it's not just, well, it is just hearing about Krishna, but it's also, we have to hear about Krishna with the attitude of pure devotional service. It's the statement, Yenatma suprasidati, questions and answers about Krishna will completely satisfy the self, is qualified in the next verse by saying that we have to make Krishna fully the object of our activities without any personal motivation. Otherwise, we have Jains talking about Krishna, their own version of Krishna, different Brahma Kumaris talking about Krishna. We won't say what they say about Krishna. We have now cartoon Krishna. Krishna is not a cartoon, but some people have made him, they're presenting him as a cartoon. How are we to be fully satisfied at heart with Krishna, not with cartoon Krishna? Not with atheistic ideas about Krishna, not with impersonalistic ideas about Krishna. It has to be through the medium of pure devotional service. Then we will find Krishna. Krishna say Toma, Krishna dite para, Tomara shakati yache. We'll find Krishna means the pure devotees will give us Krishna. How do they give us Krishna? In so many ways, but principally through this Bhagavatam, Ek Bhagavata Baro, Bhagavata Shastra. Our Bhagavat, Bhakta Bhakti Rasapatra. There are two Bhagavats. One is the book Bhagavat, which is considered main, that's the reference, all Bhagavat, person Bhagavats. They are person Bhagavats because they refer to the book Bhagavat, and they present Krishna according to Srimad Bhagavatam, which was what Srila Prabhupada did. He didn't present any imaginary ideas about Krishna. He presented Krishna as given in the Bhagavatam, and as given in the Bhagavatam means given by Vyasa. Vyasa himself gave this Bhagavatam to Shukdev, and then Shukadev spoke to Parikshit, and then Vyasa thought, wow, that's really good. I'd better just update my version, and then we got the version of Bhagavatam in the written form as we have it here. And so many acharyas have commented on this, and in this way they have added to our understanding, and Srila Prabhupada took all the teachings of the previous acharyas and presented to us a full-fledged Krishna. We can't even take all of Krishna. As Srila Prabhupada sometimes quoted his father as saying that God, we only have 2 hands, God has 10 hands, so if God wants to take away from us, how can we resist? And if God wants to give us, how much can we take? So how much can we understand Krishna? Understand, yes, but ultimately it is, of course, to love Krishna. Yato bhakti arathokshaje. To love Krishna but there is a process to revive that love, which begins with hearing about Krishna. Nitya siddha Krishna prema shadha kabunoi shravanadi shuddha chitte kareyayodoi. That devotion to Krishna is within the heart of everyone, naturally. It is revived by the process of hearing and chanting. So Srila Prabhupada gave the Bhagavatam. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. There are statements in the Bhagavatam which definitely won't be very welcome to many people in the world. The modern sensitivities, political correctness, Sri Shudra Dvija Bandhunam, Trayena Veda Gocharaha, the women, Shudras, low-class people, and fallen Brahmanas, or not fully Brahmanas, they're not capable of understanding the Veda. There are many such statements. We find in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj saying that in the womb of my mother, Narad was instructing her, actually he was instructing me. She forgot all of it because she's a woman and less intelligent, but I remembered. So there are many such statements which won't be pleasing to modern sensitivities, but Srila Prabhupada presented them. Nevertheless, we may say, well, what's all that got to do with Krishna? It may not be directly to do with Krishna, but all the Bhagavatam is to do with Krishna. So it's presenting the situation of this material world also. So as faithful disciples and as seekers of the absolute truth, we should not minimize anything that Srila Prabhupada said because we don't like it. That is not the way to receive the knowledge. We should understand that the knowledge in the Bhagavatam, the knowledge in this tradition, it is the knowledge of the absolute truth. And the culture that we have been raised, we're all conditioned by the cultures we are raised in. Unless we are fully Shastra Chakshuhu, unless we are fully seeing through the eye of Shastra, then we'll tend to see through the eye of the culture that we're raised in. And in the materialistic culture, we have various materialistic ideas, wrong because they do not pertain to they're not in sync with the absolute truth. So to see Krishna means to see everything, the material world, also properly as it is, and understand it and interact with it in a way that is favorable for cultivation of Krishna consciousness. So what did I want to speak about? There are so many things to speak about. If I think what I want to speak about, then my big I will come out. My big ego will come out. By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, I've learned that we should concentrate on understanding Krishna. This is what I should like to hear about, what I should like to talk about. If I don't like to hear about Krishna, there's something wrong with me. So what should I do? I should hear about Krishna. I don't like it, right? But I should do it. And if I do it, then the natural taste, hearing and chanting about Krishna. Svadvi kramed bhavata. Tadgala mula hantri. By regularly hearing about Krishna, chanting the names of Krishna, then a taste for that will arise and all the wrong ideas will go away. So by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, all of you have a taste for hearing about Krishna. You're all very fortunate and you're kind enough to engage me in speaking something from Srimad Bhagavatam, to have a taste to hear about Krishna. That's very fortunate. When Pradyumna Mishra in Puri came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and asked him, I would like to hear Krishna Katha from you. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you're very fortunate that you want to hear about Krishna Katha. Go and hear from Ramananda Rai. I hear from him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all knowledge, he also likes to hear from others about Krishna. This is the proper subject. Satisfaction of the soul can only be obtained by questions and answers on the subject of Krishna. Is there any scope through all this technology for questions and answers? There is. Okay. Well, I'm going to stand up again. And then if there are any questions and answers pertaining to this subject, Krishna, it's a very big subject, huge subject, then I can try and take some. Cha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.